Yes, I did shave for this event, for those of you following me on Facebook. So I'm pleased to introduce our three essay or speech contest winners from the district. And I want to point out that Deb Dupler, Denise, Kevin Schaefer, Susan Grubb, Dave Pelna, and I don't think I'm leaving anybody else, who are our judges for this event. And it's been an educational process in the 7-8 years I've been doing this, of what these students can relate to us as it relates to the four-way test. So it's been impressive. I was educated on the pink tax. I did not know that women are paying more than their fair share for the goods that guys pay for at a lower price, so that was an education. We had the four-way test applied to the death penalty, so there was some interesting topics presented to us. So it's been interesting. So we have 3 students here today. I have cash boards that I will be giving to each student after they present their speeches. And they were scored on a process where they had to give a minimum of 5 minutes of the topic, no more than 8 minutes. So they had to be concise, but not too short at the same time. So we had great participation this year. I think we had 8, 9 students. And at this point, I'm going to introduce Karen Drygred. And Karen did a great job in making sure, as the head of the students' English department, right?
No, I'm one of them.
You're one of them.
Yes.
Okay. You've been the head for me as far as
right.
who to work with
Right,
there.
right,
So
right.
you've been doing this for 7-8 years straight,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that. So round of applause for that. Thank you, Karen. So after today, our winner will go to the district level, which begins December or February 20th. Will be the first mid-level competition. Okay. And there's 2 other mid-level competitions, so if they can't make that one, we'll work that out, that they can get to the 2nd or 3rd round. And then ultimately from there, they will decide a winner from the group. So there's $750 cash prize that goes to that winner, $500 for 2nd, and a $250 cash prize for 3rd. So Karen, would you like to introduce the 3 students and any parents that are here?
Yes, I have Noah Brennan that's here, and these are his parents, right? Yes. And I have Madeline Hampton that's here, and these are her parents and sister. And I have Kylie Tobias that's here, and her parents. I'll be her pseudo-parent. I'm all their pseudo-parents, so, you know, but her parents aren't here, but her brother's been a speech student, and so, yeah, great kids. It's a great job to have.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, we're going to bring them up, and 3rd place will go first, so Noah, you'll come up, and then we'll have our 2nd and our finalists, 1st place, give their speech. And this is just practice for you today, okay?
I wanted to start by saying this. This is the first speech that I've ever given. I've had no classes on speeches, and I avoid public speaking as much as I possibly can.
I'm going to try to get you in that class, right?
Basically, I hate public speaking, which brings up the obvious question of why am I doing this if I hate public speaking so much? There are 2 answers to that question. The first one is just peer pressure. But the second and more dominant reason that I'm here today is to challenge myself. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm going to use the 4-way test to explain why you should challenge yourself. Challenging yourself doesn't have to be anything big. You don't have to be the first person on Mars or discover the cure to some deadly disease. But it's amazing how much you can do when you push yourself and take risks. Now, the first question in the test is it the truth? We can't really answer, is challenging yourself the truth? So I'm modifying it to, is it the truth that challenging yourself is necessary? For something to be a challenge, it has to be something that you find hard to do. One example of this in history is America going to the moon. In the words of John F. Kennedy, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. If it weren't for a country challenging itself then, we wouldn't have been the first ones on the moon. In fact, you can say the same thing for all accomplishments that we've made. Somebody had to challenge themselves. Now, when people challenge themselves, they never know for sure that they'll succeed. But what they do know is that they definitely won't succeed if they don't try. So yes, challenging yourself is necessary. The next question is it fair to all concerned? For something to be fair, everybody has to have equal opportunity both to participate and succeed. When you're challenging yourself, you can do so with virtually any or even no resources that are available to you. And at the same time, nobody else can make you do anything. You're in full control of what you do. So between it not mattering what resources are available to you, meaning that you can do it at any time and anybody can do it, and being in full control of yourself, yes, challenging yourself is fair to everybody concerned. Now for my favorite question in this scenario. Is it beneficial to everybody concerned? It's very obvious that succeeding has benefits, whether it's a practical achievement or if it's something as simple as a sense of accomplishment. But equally obvious is that we don't always succeed. Oftentimes we'll fail at what we do. In the words of Albert Einstein, Theodore Roosevelt, and many other people, the only person who never made a mistake in life was the one who never tried anything new. Now, failing, yeah, we do fail, but that's not all bad anyway. As I'm sure that you've heard many times before, you can learn from your mistakes, and you can argue that failing does have real consequences. For example, you could injure yourself in a sport or embarrass yourself on stage. But most of the time, these consequences aren't as bad as they sound. As I've proven multiple times before, you recover from injuries. And as I could be proving right now, people will forget about it if you embarrass yourself on stage. Either way, whether you succeed or fail, challenging yourself does have a benefit. So yes, challenging yourself is beneficial to everyone concerned. The final question in the test is will it build goodwill and better friendships? When you challenge yourself, you need to be responsible with how you do so. At the very least, this means not doing anything that will be bad for other people and just making generally smart decisions. But even better than this is to do something that will help other people. This could be on a small scale where you volunteer for something or are nice to somebody even if you don't necessarily like them. Or it could be something bigger. But no matter how you do it, when you help other people, you're building goodwill, and you can also build friendships with them. At the same time, you can, when you challenge yourself, you can do it with your friends, whether you all participate in it together or simply encourage each other to do something that would be good for each other. The same way that I was encouraged to do this speech, even though I didn't want to. When you do that, you're building better bonds with your friends and better friendships are built. So yes, challenging yourself does build goodwill and better friendships. Challenging yourself doesn't have to be tedious. You can make it fun, and there are no risks on how easy or hard or safe or risky your challenge is. But I can tell you from experience that the more you challenge yourself, the more you'll want to do so. As I'm finishing up with this challenge, think of ways for you to challenge yourself in the next week, month, or even year. Remember that challenging yourself can be tough, but a good challenge is always worth it. Thank you.
That was great. Learning to overcome fears is a big issue for all of us. So our next one, we are going to have Kylie come up next. She is our second place finisher, and the stage is all yours, Kylie.
Picture your father for a moment. The nice, kind, and sweet gentleman that you've known all your life. The man who promised he'd never let go when you first got your training wheels off. The man who's cracked so many dad jokes it's hard to understand that your mother ever married him. And the man that you hope will one day, in my case at least, walk you down the aisle. But then, all of a sudden, He's being whipped away from your home and your family, and he's being executed. After imagining that, should we be allowed to make people go through the process of being put to death? It's a good question, and that's why I'm here today to put the enforcement of the death penalty to the Rotary's four-way test. First of all, is it the truth? Why do we kill people who kill people to show that killing people is wrong? This tragedy still occurs today because as a society, we believe that people guilty of a heinous crime should then receive a heinous crime themselves. Over the past 50 years, over 1,500 deaths have been due to capital punishment, and that's just in the United States. If you include 18 other countries, there were 483 executions, and that was in the year 2020 alone, a significant decrease from the previous year. That leads me to the next question. Is it fair to all concerned? Well, no, it is not. Prisoners are only able to see their families with a layer of plexiglass in between them. They don't get to feel that warm embrace from their husband or their wife. They don't get to feel that reassuring squeeze from their son or their daughter. Is it fair that their family, that's trying so hard to keep in contact with them, might go into debt? That's of course considering that 33% of them do. Family time is now monitored, regulated, extremely limited, and costly. To continue, in the United States, 1 in 8 prisoners that have been executed have been exonerated. 1 in 8. 1 in 8 prisoners have been wrongly sentenced to live the rest of their lives miserably in a jail cell with their names slandered and false assumptions made about them. They've lost their freedom, and they have to live every single day with the thought of their impending death. Speaking more to that, I attended a lecture about a man who was falsely convicted. He had to spend 30 years of his life on death row, only to be freed in 2015 after his case was reassessed and it was proven that he was innocent. But 30 years of his life, unable to be free to do what he wanted to or even improve society at any sort of job. Had he been killed, he would have never graced everyone with his imagination and his humor and his joy. He would have never seen an auditorium full of hundreds of people give him a standing ovation. He would have never inspired me to give this speech. Had he been killed, he would have never blessed the world with his story. Furthermore, the third question, will the death penalty build goodwill and better friendships? Goodwill is characterized by friendly and helpful behaviors. The amount of resentment and anger that people have when they are protesting for an inmate to be sent to death is astonishing. It causes them to be sending death threats, hateful comments, and nasty messages not only to the prisoners, but to the prisoners' families. Do those thoughts and actions suggest goodwill? No, they do not. So to continue off from that point, will it build better friendships? Imagine waking up in the morning and you see your spouse dressed and all ready to go for the day. Before you're able to ask them what they're going to do, you see a poster lying on the table with the letters KILLTHEM. Kill them. It's not even 7 in the morning yet, and your spouse is already having homicidal thoughts. Most people tend to be brewing their first cup of coffee. Having to watch someone go through those despising and loathing and abhorrent thoughts does not make you want to support them, yet alone even be around their negative personality. You're enduring unnecessary agony because you have to watch somebody that you love have such hateful thoughts and feelings towards another human being. So to reiterate, no, capital punishment does not build better friendships. Moving on to the final question. Is capital punishment beneficial to all concerned? Well, obviously not. The incarcerated are murdered. They aren't able to improve society at some sort of job. They aren't able to teach their fellow inmates how to read or even be interviewed by that aspiring young detective that just wants to further their career. Human life is one of the most valuable assets that we have, so getting rid of it surely can't be beneficial. Also, capital punishment itself isn't beneficial because the states that do enforce the death penalty tend to have the same, if not higher, murder rates. Changing perspectives now onto those who aren't in prison, is it beneficial to know that somebody that you sent to death has been exonerated? No, it's not, and it would weigh heavily on your conscience. To add to that, does the prisoner's family benefit from losing a son or a daughter? Does the victim's family benefit from knowing that the closure they received is killing somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife? No. No, they do not. So after putting capital punishment to the Rotary's four-way test, it's clear to see that it failed. It causes people to commit crimes against those who have to show justice. It causes the innocent to be unfairly prosecuted. And it causes hateful feelings that surely can't be the foundation for goodwill and better friendships. It also takes away any benefits that a human has on the planet. So now I'd like you to change that scenario that I had you visualize earlier. You're with your father at any moment in time, whether he's pushing you on the swings or you're watching him hold your firstborn child. And that's it. That joyful memory doesn't have to be tainted with horrible feelings because your father would never have to receive the death penalty. He'd be alive and well, and you'd be able to see him whenever you wanted to. Thank you.
Very good. Our last contestant is Madeline Hampton. She's our first place finisher and our hope for district. So relax, it's a practice session.
As a girl, my life has been shaped by the color pink. You might think this has been dramatic or something just silly to say, but it's the truth. Pink has always been applied to girls for everything. TV, clothes, room decor, and just so many other things. You just think of girl color, it's pink. Today, there's even a tax with pink in the name. The pink tax is gender-based pricing that is applied to products in stores that are marketed towards women. This is an unfair practice that has been going on for decades, and it should be abolished. I will analyze this problem in a speech asking and answering the Rotary's four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all involved? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial for all involved? The truth is that women don't deserve to have to be burdened with an extra unnecessary payment just because of their gender. I first noticed this when one of my friends commented to me that she wanted to wear male deodorant instead of female. When I asked her why, well, the first reason was because female deodorants only have a few scents. You walk into the grocery store, what do you see? Floral or nothing at all. The second reason is the price. Just one simple look, you can see the price disparity between men's deodorants and women's deodorants. Where a man's deodorant is $3.99, a women's would be $5.29. Another example is a man's being $3.15, while a woman's is $7.29. You may be wondering, how much are women actually impacted by this if it's only a few dollars? Women pay 42% more for the exact same products. Eliminating this extra money that women have to pay for their average products that they need in their everyday life will lead to equality, which is the next part of the Rotary test that I would like to speak about. Over the past decades, there has been a lot of fight to make a change. California just passed a bill that blocks charging a different price for any two goods that are substantially similar if those goods are priced differently based on the gender that they are intended for. This is a wonderful first step for those who live in California, but for the rest of us who live here in Pennsylvania, the pink tax is still here. The Pink Tax Repeal Act has been repeatedly blocked in courts and has not made it very far anywhere else. It has been brought up in so many states, but it's always been blocked. In 2021, 2 class action lawsuits were dismissed under existing consumer statutes. One appeals court suggested that if women's primary concern is price, they should purchase men's products. This is so clearly unfair. Women shouldn't have to buy men's products just because that's what's cheaper. Both of them should be the exact same price because they hold the exact same purpose. Spreading awareness and fighting for change is something that can bring people together and create better friendships. Many are not aware of the pink tax. When I told my dad about the contest, he asked about what I was going to do my speech on. I had already known that I wanted to do it on pink tax because I love speaking about just feminism and things that are important to me in general, and this is a topic that I've been passionate about for a very long time. The first thing that he said to me after that was, "What is the pink tax?" My dad is a man who lives with all girls, so unfortunately for him, but he didn't even know about this discrimination that approaches us at the grocery store. It never occurred to him that we as women have to pay more because he doesn't have to pay the extra tax. When we have heightened prices as women, we think about it, we notice it. I think about it when I'm looking at personal hygiene stuff at the store, or I'm trying to scroll through a shop and see that a pink bedspread actually does cost more than a blue one. This transition to unfair pricing to equality will be beneficial to not only women, but anyone with a woman in their life. If you have a daughter, a wife, a granddaughter, you're affected by it. The pink tax starts with young kids. Fathers and husbands are paying the pink tax too. A pink bike helmet is more expensive than a bike helmet for boys. It surely can be seen many pink items cost more. The color of something can affect the price, just because pink is seen as a girl's color. With lower prices, women and families would be able to afford women's products. Women and the families they support can't afford to be exploited by discrimination. Women's wallets already take a hit by the pay gap. Growing up, I hated the color pink because it was forced upon me as a girl's color and something I should love. Now I hate it because it is a basis of discrimination. I believe if we evaluate ourselves, push for the tax to be eradicated, and become more aware of women's rights issues, pink could become a more positive color for girls and women in general. No longer do we need to have a negative connotation towards pink. Getting rid of this pink tax will give us truth, fairness, create better friendships, and be beneficial for everyone.
Well, that was well done, and we wish you well at the mid-levels, Madeline, and I hope that you make us all proud. Thank you. One last round of applause for Karen and the 3 students. I appreciate your efforts. And with that, back to you, Brad.
Thank you, Mike. Great job, guys. I have one story on Noah's.